The flickering neon sign of Rosie's Diner cast long shadows across the wet asphalt as I pulled up. It was a typical Seattle evening, drizzly, gray, and mirroring the storm brewing inside me. My name is Silas, and until a few weeks ago I thought I had it all: a loving wife, a comfortable home in Ballard, and a fulfilling career as a marine biologist. I studied the complex ecosystems of Puget Sound, a job that brought me both intellectual stimulation and a sense of purpose. I was 44, happily married to Juniper for 15 years, or so I thought. It started subtly, almost imperceptibly. Juniper, a talented architect, began working longer hours at her firm downtown. Late nights became the norm, and our once frequent dinners together dwindled to hurried meals eaten in front of the television. I chalked it up to the demands of her profession, the pressure of deadlines, the usual stresses of modern life. I'm not the jealous type, and I trusted Juniper implicitly. Trust, I would soon learn, is a fragile thing. One Tuesday, I decided to surprise Juniper with lunch. I knew she had a big presentation that morning, and I thought a midday pick-me-up would be a nice gesture. I packed a couple of sandwiches, grabbed some of her favorite fruit, and headed to her office. Her receptionist, a friendly woman named Macy, greeted me with a warm smile. "She's not in the office today, Silas," Macy said, her brow furrowing slightly. "She called in sick this morning." My heart skipped a beat. Juniper never called in sick. She was the epitome of health, always exercising, eating right, and taking care of herself. "Sick?" I asked, my voice laced with concern. "What's wrong? Did she say?" Macy hesitated. "Just a bad cold, I think. She said she needed to rest." I thanked Macy and left, a knot forming in my stomach. I tried calling Juniper's cell phone, but it went straight to voicemail. I left a message telling her I hoped she felt better and that I would check on her later. I drove home, my mind racing. When I arrived, the house was eerily quiet. No Juniper, no signs of illness, just an unsettling stillness. I decided to wait. Maybe she had gone to the doctor, or perhaps she was at the pharmacy picking up medication. Hours passed and still no Juniper. The sun began to set, casting long shadows across the living room. I tried calling her again, but still no answer. Finally, around 8 p.m., my phone rang. It was Juniper. "Silas, I'm so sorry," she said, her voice sounding strained. "I should have called sooner. I had a terrible migraine and I fell asleep. I'm still not feeling great, so I'm going to stay at a hotel downtown. I don't want to risk getting you sick." "A hotel? Why a hotel?" "Juniper, why a hotel? I can take care of you here. I can bring you soup, medicine, anything you need." "No, Silas, really. I just need to be alone. I need complete rest. I'll see you tomorrow." And with that she hung up. I sat there, stunned. Something felt terribly wrong. Juniper had never stayed in a hotel before, especially when she was sick. It didn't make sense. My gut was screaming at me, telling me something was amiss. I tried to dismiss it, to rationalize her behavior, but the feeling persisted. I couldn't shake the sense that I was being lied to. That night I barely slept. I tossed and turned, my mind replaying the events of the day. Juniper's strange behavior, her evasiveness, the hotel, it all added up to something I didn't want to believe. But the more I tried to deny it, the more convinced I became that she was hiding something. The next morning, I decided to do some investigating. I knew it was wrong, that I was violating Juniper's privacy, but I couldn't ignore the gnawing suspicion that consumed me. I waited until she left for work, and then I went into her home office. I started with her computer. I knew her password, a combination of our anniversary date and our dog's name. I hesitated for a moment, my conscience warring with my curiosity. But the need to know the truth was too strong to resist. I opened her email account and began scrolling through her messages. Most were work-related: invoices, meeting schedules, design proposals. But then I saw it. An email with the subject line, "Thinking of you." It was from someone named Sterling. My heart pounded in my chest as I clicked on the email. "Juniper, last night was amazing. I can't stop thinking about you. I can't wait to see you again." The world seemed to tilt on its axis. My vision blurred and a wave of nausea washed over me. I read the email again and again, each time feeling the knife twist deeper into my gut. Juniper was having an affair. The woman I loved, the woman I had built a life with, was betraying me. I scrolled through the rest of the emails, each one a fresh wound. They were filled with intimate details, secret rendezvous, and declarations of love. Sterling was a colleague of Juniper's, a senior partner at her firm. He was married, too. A double betrayal. I felt a surge of anger, a white-hot rage that threatened to consume me. I wanted to scream, to break things, to lash out at anyone who crossed my path. But beneath the anger there was a profound sadness, a deep sense of loss. The life I thought I had, the future I had imagined, was crumbling before my eyes. I printed out all the emails, my hands trembling. I needed proof, something tangible to confront Juniper with. I couldn't just accuse her based on a hunch. I needed irrefutable evidence. I spent the rest of the day in a daze, going through the motions of my job but unable to focus on anything. I felt like I was walking through a dream, or rather a nightmare. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, I could barely breathe. The betrayal was suffocating me. That evening when Juniper came home, I was waiting for her. I sat in the living room, the printed emails spread out on the coffee table. She walked in, her face tired but otherwise normal. "Silas, what's wrong?" she asked, her voice laced with concern. I didn't say anything. I just gestured to the emails. She followed my gaze, her eyes widening as she recognized the sender's name. Her face drained of color and she stumbled backward as if she had been struck. "Silas, she stammered, her voice barely a whisper. "I can explain," I said, my voice rising. "Explain what? Explain how you've been lying to me for months. Explain how you've been sleeping with another man. Explain how you've destroyed everything we've built together." Tears streamed down her face as she sank to her knees. "I'm so sorry, Silas," she sobbed. "I never meant for this to happen. It just happened, it just happened," I repeated, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "You just happened to fall into bed with another man. You just happened to exchange dozens of intimate emails. You just happened to lie to my face every single day." She didn't answer. She just sat there weeping, her body racked with sobs. I stood up, my legs shaking. "I want you to leave," I said, my voice trembling. "I want you out of this house. I don't ever want to see you again." She looked up at me, her eyes filled with despair. "Silas, please don't do this. I love you. I can fix this. We can fix this." "No, Juniper," I said, my voice firm. "We can't fix this. You broke it. You broke us. And I can never forgive you." She left that night, taking a suitcase full of clothes and a lifetime of memories. I watched her drive away, my heart shattering into a million pieces. The next few months were a blur of pain, anger, and grief. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, I could barely function. I went through the motions of my job, but my heart wasn't in it. I lost weight, I became withdrawn, I isolated myself from my friends and family. I consulted a divorce lawyer, a sharp, no-nonsense woman named Bernice. She guided me through the legal process, advising me on how to protect my assets and navigate the complexities of the divorce. I learned that Juniper had been using our joint bank account to pay for her trysts with Sterling, a fact that only deepened my anger and resentment. As the divorce proceedings dragged on, I began to uncover more about Juniper's affair. I learned that Sterling was a notorious womanizer, that he had a long history of cheating on his wife. I also learned that Juniper wasn't the only woman he was seeing. He was a serial cheater, a master manipulator who preyed on vulnerable women. The realization that Juniper had been just another conquest in Sterling's twisted game brought me a strange sense of relief. It didn't excuse her behavior, but it did help me understand it. She had been manipulated, seduced, and ultimately used. She was a victim, too, in a way. But that didn't change the fact that she had betrayed me, that she had destroyed our marriage, that she had caused me unimaginable pain. I still couldn't forgive her. As the divorce neared its conclusion, I decided to confront Sterling. I needed to look him in the eye to understand why he had done what he had done. I tracked him down to a fancy restaurant in downtown Seattle where he was having dinner with another woman. I walked up to his table, my heart pounding in my chest. "Sterling," I said, my voice trembling. "Can I have a word with you?" He looked up, his eyes widening in surprise. He recognized me immediately. "Silas," he said, his voice laced with arrogance. "What a surprise. What can I do for you?" "I want to know why," I said, my voice rising. "Why did you do this? Why did you destroy my marriage? Why did you hurt Juniper?" He smirked. "Don't flatter yourself, Silas. Juniper was unhappy. I just gave her what she wanted." "What she wanted," I said, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "You think she wanted to be lied to. You think she wanted to be betrayed. You think she wanted to destroy her life, he shrugged. Maybe she did. Maybe she was looking for a way out. Maybe I just gave her the push she needed. I felt a surge of anger, a white-hot rage that threatened to consume me. I wanted to punch him, to beat him senseless, but I resisted the urge. I knew that violence wouldn't solve anything. It would only make things worse. Instead, I took a deep breath and said, "You're a pathetic excuse for a human being, Sterling. You're a liar, a cheat, and a manipulator. You prey on vulnerable women and you destroy lives. But you know what? You're not going to destroy mine. I'm going to move on. I'm going to rebuild my life, and I'm going to be happy. And you, Sterling, are going to be miserable." With that, I turned and walked away, leaving him sitting there speechless. I didn't look back. I didn't care what he thought. I was done with him. I was done with Juniper. I was done with the past. I walked to Rosie's diner. I needed a cup of coffee and some time to think. As I sat there sipping my coffee, I realized that I was finally free. Free from the lies, free from the betrayal, free from the pain. I had a long road ahead of me, but I was ready to face it. I was ready to rebuild my life. I was ready to be happy again. I filed for divorce, and Juniper didn't fight it. She knew she was in the wrong. I later learned that Sterling's wife had left him too, after finding out about the affair. He lost his job and his reputation. Karma, it seemed, had finally caught up with him. As for Juniper, I don't know what happened to her. I haven't seen her or spoken to her since that night she left. I hope she's okay. I hope she's found happiness. But I also know that I can never forgive her for what she did. I paid my bill and walked out of the diner, the rain having stopped. The sky was clear and the stars were shining brightly. I took a deep breath and smiled. The future was uncertain, but it was also full of possibilities. And I was ready to embrace it. Life after Juniper has been a journey of healing and self-discovery. I threw myself into my work, immersing myself in the beauty and complexity of the marine world. I reconnected with old friends, made new ones, and rediscovered my passions. I started hiking, kayaking, and exploring the natural wonders of the Pacific Northwest. I even took a pottery class, something I had always wanted to do. Slowly but surely, I began to heal. The pain of Juniper's betrayal faded, replaced by a sense of peace and acceptance. I realized that I couldn't change what had happened, but I could control how I reacted to it. I chose to focus on the positive, to learn from my mistakes, and to move forward with hope and optimism. One day, while volunteering at a local aquarium, I met a woman named Clementine. She was a marine biologist, too, passionate about conservation and dedicated to protecting our oceans. We bonded over our shared love of the sea, and soon our friendship blossomed into something more. Clementine was kind, compassionate, and intelligent. She was also beautiful inside and out. She made me laugh, she challenged me to grow, and she supported me through the ups and downs of life. With Clementine, I felt alive again. I felt like I could finally trust someone again. We fell in love, and a year later we got married. It was a small, intimate ceremony, held on a beach overlooking Puget Sound. As I stood there holding Clementine's hand, I knew that I had finally found my happy ending. I had survived the betrayal, I had healed my heart, and I had found love again. Life had thrown me a curveball, but I had hit it out of the park. Looking back, I can see that Juniper's betrayal, as painful as it was, ultimately made me a stronger, more resilient person. It taught me the importance of self-love, the power of forgiveness, and the enduring strength of the human spirit. And it led me to Clementine, the woman who showed me that love is always possible, even after the deepest heartbreak. As I sit here now, years later, writing this story, I am filled with gratitude. Gratitude for the lessons I have learned, gratitude for the people who have supported me, and gratitude for the love that has sustained me. Life is not always easy, but it is always worth living. And even in the darkest of times, there is always hope for a brighter future.